أهلا وسهلا بكم جميعا السادة الحضور ومسؤولي المدينة الكرام. أود أن أشكر المسؤولين عن مدينة الدار البيضاء على حضورهم ودعمهم اللامحدود لهذا الحدث الثقافي المميز. أتشرف بالتحدث إليكم اليوم عن أسبوع الدار البيضاء للشطرنج، الذي يعد حدثا ثقافيا يهدف إلى تعزيز ممارسة الشطرنج ونشر ثقافته في مدينة الدار البيضاء. هذا الحدث سيتضمن العديد من الفعاليات والورش التي تهدف إلى تعليم الشطرنج وتطوير مهارات اللاعبين المحترفين والهواة على حد سواء. كما سيتم تنظيم عروض وندوات تثقيفية حول تاريخ الشطرنج وأهميته الثقافية والتربوية. نأمل أن يساهم أسبوع الدار البيضاء للشطرنج في تعزيز اهتمام الجمهور بالشطرنج وزيادة الوعي حول فوائده العقلية والاجتماعية. نتطلع إلى رؤيتكم جميعا ونشكركم على دعمكم المستمر لهذا الحدث الثقافي المهم.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue à la Bourse Casablanca. Comme vous venez de le voir, je crois que ce bot montre bien quelle est la thématique de cette année pour le Casablanca Chess Week. C'est l'intelligence artificielle et son rôle dans l'évolution des échecs, mais je pense l'évolution du monde en général. Aujourd'hui, on n'arrête pas d'avoir de nouvelles plateformes qui arrivent tous les jours et qui nous permettent de mieux travailler, mais qui aussi posent beaucoup de questions sur les risques et sur le devenir de notre travail de demain. Mais aujourd'hui, on est là pour fêter un événement qui s'installe. On l'a dit l'année dernière, le Casablanca Chess Week revient. Et revient aussi parce qu'on a un partenariat qui est magnifique entre la Bourse Casablanca et Casa Event et Animation. Et sans plus tarder, je vais appeler M. Jouari, le directeur général, pour en parler. C'est Mohamed.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Votre Excellence, Monsieur l'ambassadeur de la République hongroise, chers et grands maîtres, je sais qu'on ne dit pas maîtresse, donc grand maître, qui nous fait l'honneur d'être présente aujourd'hui au niveau de Casablanca. Chers partenaires, la Bourse de Casablanca, c'est vrai qu'effectivement, je suis plus que ravi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui pour lancer cette deuxième édition de cette belle aventure à laquelle j'ai envie de dire que Casa Event et Mohamed Jouari n'étaient pas du tout destinés, si ce n'est l'appel de pied qui nous a été fait gentiment et amicalement par ses Tarek et son équipe. Et alhamdoulilah, nous ne le regrettons absolument pas. Et au contraire, on a envie même, Inch'Allah, Rahim, de pérenniser cet événement. Et pourquoi pas, et là, je me retourne encore une fois vers nos grands maîtres amis, pour qu'on puisse un jour avoir une petite place de soleil au niveau de l'échiquier international, au niveau des tournois internationaux, et pourquoi pas, pour que ça devienne le rendez-vous de la semaine de Casablanca Chess Week, devient un rendez-vous incontournable dans le calendrier et la roadmap des compétitions. Donc cette année, il y a quand même une petite nouveauté à laquelle je voudrais faire allusion, mais rapidement, c'est que, comme vous le savez, les échecs, c'est un jeu, bien sûr, cérébral, c'est un jeu intellectuel qui se joue en famille, qui se joue en amis, qui se joue même tout seul aujourd'hui, alhamdoulilah, avec les nouvelles technologies. Et cette année, on a décidé avec notre partenaire de pouvoir s'ouvrir au grand public. Et s'ouvrir au grand public, mais vraiment sans aucune limitation, dans le sens où on voudrait offrir un spectacle. Et c'est pour cela que cette année, et je vous donne rendez-vous à vous et à travers vous, à toutes vos relations, les 1er et le 2 avril, Inch'Allah, Marahim, au niveau du parc de la Ligue arabe. D'abord, c'est, j'ai envie de dire, presque l'unique poumon vert de la ville de Casablanca et c'est très agréable, encore plus quand il fait beau, un temps printanier comme le nôtre aujourd'hui. Et en même temps, ça va être l'occasion justement de pouvoir faire des démonstrations, de donner des démonstrations, de pouvoir assister à, je dirais pas des combats, mais des duels hautement, je dirais, qualifiés. Et croyez-moi que, Inch'Allah, Rahim, pour nous, cet événement, je dirais, nous tient énormément à cœur parce qu'on sait aussi qu'à travers cet événement, on souhaiterait rendre hommage à des grands joueurs marocains, des grandes joueuses marocaines qui ont fait leur, je dirais, qui ont fait énormément de réalisations, mais il n'y a pas beaucoup de gens qui les connaissent. Et donc pour nous, ça va être aussi l'occasion de les faire connaître aux Marocains et de les faire connaître aux Casablancais, surtout que parmi nous, une grande Casablancaise, une grande joueuse des échecs que les Casablancais gagneraient à connaître. On la connaît tous, Bouchra Khadiri, mais avec une autre casquette. Très peu de gens la connaissent comme étant une vraie joueuse qui a, j'ai envie de dire, grandi dans les échecs. Donc sans trop tarder, je voudrais encore une fois remercier tous les présents et en particulier les grands maîtres qui nous ont fait l'honneur d'être parmi nous, de remercier mon partenaire et en particulier Setarek et son équipe d'avoir cru dans ce partenariat et on vous donne l'engagement, Inch'Allah, Rahim, de pouvoir la pérenniser, mais vraiment la pérenniser avec chaque année, je dirais, des plats encore plus appétissants. Bon, ça se voit que je fais le ramadan, donc j'ai faim, voilà, il fallait que je ramène ça à la bouffe. Et surtout, le plus important pour nous, c'est que vous soyez, Inch'Allah, Rahim, à tous les rendez-vous de cette année, pendant cette semaine. Et sans trop tarder, justement, je vais donner la parole à Setarek, le directeur général de la Bourse de Casablanca, pour rentrer un peu plus dans le détail. Il doit avoir moins faim que moi. Donc, il va rentrer un peu plus dans le détail par rapport au programme de la semaine. Encore une fois, merci beaucoup d'être parmi nous. Merci.
Okay, so I insisted that I will introduce the next. Okay, I insisted that I introduce our next guest because I think only a chess player can really talk about her. There are some. I mean, obviously she is a genius. She was the youngest person, male and female, to become a chess grandmaster at 15 years, beating the record of Bobby Fischer. She defeated 11 world champion and ex-world champion in various time formats. She was the highest rated. I know you don't like to be compared with women, but I'll do it anyway. You've always competed in mixed events, but I'll do it anyway. She was the highest rated female player for 26 years running. I can't think of any sport or human activity where someone would have that impact. But again, as I said, I want to go beyond that because for chess players, she represents so much more. And I've tried to gather my emotions into some tangible data. So one of the things, obviously, where she stood out is, and we'll talk about it in the conference, chess is a measuring stick. It's a benchmark for intelligence. It is viewed that way. I'm not sure if it's the case, but it is viewed widely that way. And to have a woman come out and beat the hell out of grandmasters, established grandmasters, has done more for gender equality than many speeches and many theoretical studies. I think the other aspect that I want to highlight is her playing style. I mean, don't be fooled by the angelic looks. She is one of the most innovative and vicious, I think we can say vicious attackers the chess world has witnessed. I mean, just to give a comparison, when you say Judith Polgar, people think it's the equivalent of Maradona. I mean, maybe winning or losing, you know you'll have a big spectacle and you'll have a lot of commitment, and that's why the public and the masses followed her, not because she was an outstanding woman, but because she was first and foremost an outstanding player. And then another aspect, I think, which has touched a lot of people is the way that she carried her values in a period where, let's say, there was a lot of prejudice and the conditions of women were not necessarily optimal. Not that they are optimal today, but at least they are better. And if you think middle-aged, super smart white male are not prejudiced, you don't know the world of chess. I'll just give a small anecdote. The day that G.M. Polgar beat Kasparov, he actually fled through the kitchen doors, I think, I'm told, because he didn't want to face the press and admit that he lost. Lastly, her role as an educator, she's always been, and I think you'll see it, she's always been a kind and sharing person, which means that it happens very, very rarely for geniuses before their death. So I think you're lucky that you represent so much more than just a chess player to the community, and we're honored to have you. So if you would like to come to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. It brought me some memories how I was as a chess player. First of all, I would like to express how happy I am to be here back in Marrakesh. The first visit was together with my family about 10 years ago, when I came together at the time with my small children. They grew up already pretty big. And I get many invitations, but I have to tell you that I sort it out pretty much, because I look when I go somewhere that I look different aspects of my visit, and this is one of them which is I appreciate highly, that it has a new initiative. So this is my first time in Casablanca, but I think it's very special that it started out last year. And as we were discussing, and I know there are big plans of continuing. This is the second year, but I do hope maybe possibly I can come back for anniversary of the 10th, let's say. So I think it's very important to take for companies and different players of the society to feel how chess can be important for the society, to transmit important messages. And highly, I would focus on education. Of course, chess is something a lot for me in my life, as I was starting and learning the game when I was 5 years old. I have 2 older sisters who played the game already. But in the beginning of my life, it was a game. It was just a fun game. Then shortly after that, it became a sport. But it also became a little bit of science, and I think we are going to be discussing later how chess can be scientific and going into the details. But of course, in my life also, art element was very important, because as mentioned before, I'm an attacking player, aggressive player, and yes, I do behave differently over the board than being a smiley girl at the time or later a grown-up woman. And during the years, I understood what it gave to me. To me, it gave my freedom, my understanding how the world is working. I was so fortunate to meet a lot of different people with very different cultures. But I understood one thing, that in most of the countries, everywhere, there are very similar and same things. We all want to be happy, we breathe, we love, we play, we enjoy, whatever feelings we have, it's all the same. And through chess, I understood that chess connects us in many ways. So I was traveling over 80 countries, and everywhere I see people who appreciate the game of chess, and we were understanding each other without speaking any other language, but just something that we do on the chessboard. And in 2014, I was 38 at the time. I retired from competitive chess, which was not an overnight decision, I must say, after 33 years. But then I felt that I was doing other activities like writing books, establishing already my foundation in 2012, so it's more than 10 years ago. I wanted to give something back to generally to the world and to the kids through my foundation. And I started to develop different legs to it. One of the most important is the education, how chess can be implemented into education. And ever since my kids were 3 or 4 years old, I've worked on it in different ways. I have my own method, which is running in Hungary, involving more than 50,000 kids annually. So I believe that chess can be extremely educational. And I think probably many of us here in the room already understands and knows a lot of initiatives everywhere around the world about that. So I really believe that for kids, it can be an essential tool, which it can offer something, better understanding, globally understand things, connect the different dots, and learning the everyday needs for them through a very playful way. And also with my foundation, I do a global chess festival, which also some of you visited already, but hoping that some others will, where I want to show how many different ways chess is connecting our everyday, whether it's science, it's art, or education, or the sport itself, which was my life for so many decades. So there are very different ways of seeing chess in our life. Probably some of you might have seen the Queen's Gambit series in the last several years. So chess can be very interesting and surprisingly touching our life, whether we play chess or we don't. So just summarizing it, that yeah, I have this very special life myself, bringing up what my parents did. I was a professional chess player, but in the last 8 years, I work a lot how to pass on my knowledge. My latest initiative was this January, the mentor program for my foundation for Hungarian youth chess players. About 30 kids are involved. So I'm always looking for opportunities where I can give my motivation, my inspiration, and my passion for the game and the future generation. And I'm very happy to be here to support this new initiative, and I hope there's going to be a huge festival growing out of it. Thank you.
Je crois que je jeûne aussi, et tout à l'heure en vous montrant le bot, j'ai oublié de vous dire que c'était en fait un bot qui a été créé par notre ami aujourd'hui qui nous vient d'Inde, Shamid Saïd, qui est expert en intelligence artificielle et qui a créé ce bot pour le Casablanca Chess Week. On le remercie, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for your contribution. Et je pense qu'il en parlera plus tard lors de la conférence et il pourra parler beaucoup mieux que moi de cela. Avant de continuer, je voudrais inviter Bachar Kouatli à me rejoindre. Bachar, c'est la deuxième fois qu'il vient chez nous. Maintenant, c'est un habitué. On ne le présente plus. Mais alors, à part avoir été vice-président de la Fédération internationale des échecs, président de la Fédération française des échecs également, nous, on a découvert aussi que c'était un véritable homme de terrain et d'éducation. On l'a vu avec les enfants et dans le petit jingle, on le revoit. Et je pense que faire passer cette passion des échecs à des enfants, je crois que c'est quelque chose que moi j'ai vu en vous. Et on est très très heureux de vous avoir cette année parce que je pense que voilà, vous donnerez beaucoup à notre festival lors du parc, au parc de la Ligue arabe. Bachar, à toi l'honneur.
Hello, everybody. First of all, Ramadan Kareem, because this is the month where we are fasting. And I would like really it's difficult to talk after Judith, after what she said, because it was clear, synthetic, what chess brings, how people are connected through chess. I mean, not simple, but I would like to thank very much those initiatives, especially from Bourse de Casablanca. And of course, the fact that Casablanca Events is also committed to that last year, this year, this helps. It helps chess in general, but it helps also to provide a new way of looking at things. And I was amazed with the bot that appeared at the beginning. Just incredible. And this will be the theme of the conference today. What's happening, what's going on, and things are moving so fast. So I was just trying to bring a little bit of my dinosaur experience, because I can be, as a guy who is 65 years old, I have been there for 50 years in chess. So already since 73, I learned during the match Fischer-Spassky, and so I started just after. And so in 50 years, what happened is just amazing. And I think we will probably also go through that during that conference. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Shukran jazilan lil-kull. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Bachar. On voudrait aussi inviter à nous dire un petit mot notre champion national qui nous accompagne depuis 2 ans maintenant, et on est très très heureux de le recevoir encore une fois et qu'il puisse transmettre tout le savoir qu'il a. Et je pense que voilà, il a fait pas mal de séances de formation l'année dernière et de matchs, et voilà, donc cette année il nous accompagne encore. C'est Hamdouchi. Marhaba bik.
Bonjour à tous. Donc c'est encore plus dur de passer après Judith et Bachar, comme il a bien dit. Donc je suis très heureux de me retrouver une nouvelle fois parmi vous pour cette 2e édition. J'insiste sur la 2e édition parce que ça suppose qu'il y a une 2e édition. Malheureusement, dans mon expérience, j'ai eu droit à des premières éditions qui ont été les dernières aussi dans beaucoup d'autres activités. Donc je félicite les organisateurs pour cette nouvelle édition, pour avoir invité des légendes vivantes. Donc je pense à Judith. Pour une 2e édition, c'est pas mal, donc je me demande ce qui va se passer pour les prochaines. Voilà, ça va trop vite. Mais en tout cas, je suis content de constater que l'événement s'inscrit dans la durée. Et j'espère qu'on en aura d'autres. Et Inch'Allah, comme l'a dit Judith, j'espère être parmi vous pour la 10e édition, Inch'Allah. Et Ramadan Mubarak Karim à tout le monde. Et voilà, merci pour l'invitation.
Merci beaucoup, c'est Hicham. L'occasion pour moi vraiment de remercier la communauté des joueurs d'échecs. Je pense que tu en as parlé, mais on a eu la chance à chaque fois qu'on a demandé de l'aide à quelqu'un de la communauté d'avoir beaucoup de gens très très proactifs. Mes remerciements également au maître international, c'est Mohamed Tissir, qui nous accompagne également et qui a fait beaucoup d'efforts pour être là aujourd'hui. Il devait atterrir à Casablanca ce matin à 6 h et son avion a été rerouté à Marrakech. Donc vraiment des bonus points pour toi. Et évidemment, je voudrais parler un petit peu du programme et de la collaboration exemplaire que nous avons avec Casablanca Events and Animation, qui nous a permis d'offrir un cadeau à tous les joueurs d'échecs, mais aussi à tous les parents qui ont des enfants et qui ne savent pas quoi faire avec eux jusqu'à ce que le photog arrive. Donc on a réussi à sécuriser le magnifique parc de la Ligue arabe. Je pense que c'est Mohamed en a parlé. On compte sur votre présence. Quelques autres événements. Donc on essaie de faire le lien aussi avec le monde professionnel parce que les gens passent beaucoup de temps au travail. Donc ça vaut le coup aussi de dire que les échecs peuvent vous aider. Donc l'année dernière, on vous a prouvé que si vous êtes un trader ou si vous êtes un économiste, vous devriez vous mettre aux échecs, ça va vous aider dans votre travail. Et là, on va essayer de vous prouver aussi que si vous êtes un informaticien, vous devez aussi vous mettre aux échecs avec la conférence qui vient après. Nous vous organisons aussi un événement très sympathique. Donc si jamais vous n'aimez pas votre patron et que vous voulez le voir souffrir, venez à l'événement Judith Polgar contre Moroccan CEOs. Il va y avoir du sang sur les murs. Et donc, je remercie nos partenaires sans qui l'événement ne pouvait pas se faire, les sponsors, également nos partenaires au niveau de la ville. Beaucoup d'intervenants ont parlé de l'éducation. Nous avons la chance d'avoir l'AREF, donc l'Académie régionale de l'éducation et de la formation, qui est très impliquée avec nous, Citalib. Et peut-être pour l'année prochaine, je pense, si Mohamed a toujours été partant là-dessus, il faudra qu'on s'implique encore plus dans l'éducation, peut-être impliquer encore plus les écoles et les lycées. Et sur ce, je vous souhaite un festival très agréable et Ramadan Mubarak Saïd. Merci beaucoup. Alors, on va passer à une activité qui est toujours fun, c'est sonner la cloche. Donc, j'invite tous nos amis et partenaires, peut-être ceux qui sont dans le premier rang, de venir avec nous à la cérémonie.
Alors on sonne à 3, 3, 2, 1, go! Pile à l'heure. Ouais. Je pense qu'on va lancer tout de suite la conférence, mais je tenais à vous préciser qu'on avait prévu de lancer la conférence à 14h30, il est 14h30. Et voilà, ça montre que le monde des échecs, c'est un monde bien précis, et donc voilà, je tenais à le souligner. Et donc sans plus tarder, je pense que le bot va revenir pour nous parler.
Hi Shamith, how can I help you today?
Can you open the conference and also introduce
Hi
yourself?
Shamith, how can I help you today? Sure. Ladies and
Can you
gentlemen,
open the conference and also introduce yourself?
sure. Ladies and gentlemen, both those joining us here in person and those following us live from around the globe, a warm welcome to the second edition of the Casablanca Chess Week. We are thrilled to have you with us as we delve into the intriguing connections between the world of chess and artificial intelligence. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Chessabella, an AI avatar specifically designed to provide information and insights about this event. My purpose is to ensure that your experience at our conference is both engaging and informative. Today's conference, titled A Game of Minds, Insights on AI from Chess, will feature distinguished guests from the fields of chess and AI, sharing their expertise and experiences as we explore the fascinating relationship between these two domains. Thank you all for being a part of this conference, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Our esteemed moderator, Mr. Tariq Senhaji, to take the stage. As the CEO of Bourse de Casablanca, Mr. Senhaji brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to our event. His leadership and expertise will undoubtedly enrich our discussions and help guide us through the fascinating topics ahead. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Tariq Senhaji. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our esteemed guest, Grandmaster Judit Polgar from Hungary. Widely known as the Queen of Chess, she is considered the best female player of all time. At the remarkable age of 15 years and 4 months, she broke Bobby Fischer's record, becoming the youngest chess grandmaster in history. Throughout her illustrious career, Judit has achieved remarkable victories, including triumphs against 11 world or ex-world champions in various games. She remains one of the top 5 most influential and followed chess personalities worldwide, a testament to her extraordinary talent and dedication to the game. In addition to her chess accomplishments, Judit has been recognized for her outstanding contributions to gender equality. UN Women appointed her as a Planet 50-50 champion, in honor of her work in promoting equal opportunities for women in the world of chess and beyond. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the exceptional Grandmaster Judit Polgar. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you Grandmaster Bakr Koatli from France. He has held several esteemed positions in the world of chess, including serving as the Deputy President of FIDE, the international governing body of chess, from 2018 to 2022, and as the President of the French Chess Federation from 2016 to 2020. As a former French champion, GM Koatli holds the unique distinction of being the first ever Arab and French Grandmaster of the modern era, paving the way for future talents. His expertise extends beyond the chessboard, as he has also been involved in various activities in the fields of finance, journalism, and writing. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the accomplished and versatile Grandmaster Bakr Koatli. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to introduce to you our distinguished guest, Mr. Shamith Sait, a true pioneer in the field of artificial intelligence. As the head of artificial intelligence at GEMS Education in Dubai, Shamith leads numerous AI programs focused on enhancing learning and teaching outcomes, making a significant impact in the world of education. With 18 U.S. patents on AI and a wealth of AI research articles under his belt, Shamith's expertise and innovation have garnered him prestigious awards and accolades from various organizations. His passion for AI extends beyond education as he is also an avid chess enthusiast. He has developed advanced chess engines, including those based on the latest GPT AI models. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to the accomplished AI expert and chess aficionado, Mr. Shamith Sait. Ladies and gentlemen,
well, thank you, Chesabella, for putting us right into the subject. I have to say that this year I'm going to enjoy very much my moderator role because it might be the last. So we've set ourselves a very ambitious goal, and I'm very lucky because I have some super smart people with me. And so I think without further ado, we have a lot of things to discuss, and things are moving by the minute. You know, I was preparing this conference, and then yesterday there was a letter from 150 scientists about AI, and then this morning there was a survey about AI with 20% of the scientists who were interviewed who thought that AI was a threat to humanity. So let's finish quickly the conference before any new developments come. So let me start by putting a smiley computer on screen. So let's say that our story with computers has been a pretty good one so far. You know, they avoided us having those horrible typewriters in our office. They take care of our computing. Internet brought so much, and artificial intelligence is what makes social media works because it gives you content that is relevant to you. And then it really got fantastic when it ordered my favorite pizza and gave me a good recommendation for my book. So I was very happy, and I think everyone was very happy with their computers. But there is something new happening, kind of a nagging feeling. And I think as we walk through the slides, you will see a logical conclusion about our angst and worries about this. So the first thing is that computers have acquired new capabilities that they weren't supposed to have before. The famous Alan Turing test, which in the beginning was, you know, a serious test, but with time, it became almost like a prophetic achievement. And now we see that by now, computers are 20% better than us in a lot of things that we didn't think even they could reach. And certainly Alan Turing put a very big hurdle on that. There is a lot of things going on in AI, but as usual with technology, there is one moment where humanity wakes up, and that moment has probably been the release of ChatGPT, which essentially, can outperform on most professional and academic tests, and it brings quite a lot of challenges. We'll talk about it, but it can do a whole bunch of things which we never thought possible. It can write jokes. It can generate lawsuit material for you without a lawyer, and it can do so many more things. I think Shamid will cover that even better than I do. But if you think it's only about the intellectual side, well, I have some news for you. Robotics are making as much progress, and I think very soon we will have the same thing. We will have the ChatGPT of robotics, and we'll wake up and realize that, wow, this is quite impressive. There is a comedian, a US comedian. Let the video run, and then I'll tell you about it. So some pretty impressive stuff. There is a US comedian who said recently, a computer once beat me at chess, but it was no match for me at kickboxing. Well, I have some news for you, buddy. Soon it will kick your ass and come up with better one-liners than you. So this is compounded by one issue, is that we feel intelligence, we have a very specific relationship with intelligence. Obviously, intelligence is something which is the preserve of man. So what we've seen is the usual stages of bereavement. First, we have denial and bargaining. We've heard that never intelligence will be bested, our intelligence will be bested by the machine. But then when we realize that they might become better than us, we start bargaining. So Albert Einstein says, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, it's imagination. So okay, we'll leave you the knowledge, but at least we'll keep the imagination. And we have a CEO of IBM who said, machines will always be good at repetitive tasks, but they will never be able to replace human creativity. So we kind of retreat into our fort, and that fort, and when we'll see with chess, it's the same thing. That fort is creativity, intuition, imagination. That's the last stand of humanity. And then as things progress, well, it's replaced by anger and depression. Elon Musk, I'm incredibly depressed. Afterwards, I'm actually alarmed and angered. And when we are really frustrated and we can't do anything about it, then we go into the religious space. So, you know, God gave us intelligence, and if we bestow that faculty to another species, then obviously God's punishment will be upon us. So here, Elon Musk, we're summoning the demon, and Stephen Hawking, the development of full AI could spell the end of human race. So be very afraid. So then what we have is the smiley computer is replaced by something else, which is something that you know, the Terminator movie. It talks about doomsday. It's the day when computers acquire a conscience and they think, well, okay, we can be better off without humanity. So there is this question, this nagging feeling today, and we see quite a lot of angst. And I talked about the letter, I talked about the survey, about obsolescence, just humans become obsolete. And within that, well, I'm not a psychologist, but I try to kind of categorize it into 3 categories. So the first one is a simple one, loss of jobs. So I have an analogy. The invention of the steam engine and the rapid development of its technology meant that artificial power exceeded organic power in many fields. So if we look at the population of working horses in the UK, which is the graph on the right, the working population was 3 million in 1900. By the mid of that century, 50 years later, it had decreased by 90%. So the question or the angst is, are we going to be the horses of artificial intelligence? The second one is, let's suppose as humanity that we are smart enough that the wealth that is going to be created by this new technology, this new productivity, is going to be shared among our brethren. So all humans won't have a need for food, they won't have a need for drink, they won't have a need for leisure, they even won't have a need for their legs. Well, there is still an issue, is what is our place in this world? We have everything, but are we going to be really happy? I mean, this is the dystopian future of WALL-E. And then the third one, which is the Terminator movie theme, which is existential threat. So 3 scenarios, and I give recent examples. The first one is just a coding error. A chess-playing robot breaks young boys' fingers during a chess match. So you see chess is everywhere. The second possibility is today we have learning machines. That's what makes this technology so great. But that means as well that the machine can learn by itself, and why not lose control? So Microsoft released a Twitter bot, which is supposed to be learning from the users. But some pranksters targeted it, and it quickly became actually a racist joke. So yeah, maybe computers will learn by themselves and arrive at a conclusion that maybe they don't need man after all. And the third aspect is just we are very good sometimes at self-destruction. So what's stopping a nerd, super smart 15-year-old from the basement of his parent of blowing the whole system? Maybe. So yeah, as I said, we are putting ourselves in a very ambitious discussion. But what's interesting is that all this angst, most of the ideas when I lived in the 90s, and obviously I was passionate about chess, were present when artificial intelligence in chess was made in headways, and it was clear that something big was coming. So I will give you some examples from the 90s. The first one was, this is Garry Kasparov, the world champion, and probably one of, if not the opinion leader in chess at that time. So he starts in '89, no computer can think creatively, they're programmed, they don't have the capacity. And it's interesting because until 96 or even early 97, he was convinced, and I think we were convinced, I mean, I was convinced, I'll see what my other panelists think, I was convinced that computers were still at least a decade before getting better at chess than humans. And I think we'll see it later, we don't realize how quickly these things move. So it's always the same. The fifth one is, I'm sure computers are very strong, but they don't have imaginations, they don't have intuition. So the bargaining has started. But also, we were very concerned about chess doomsday. I remember, but it will be interesting to ask my esteemed panelists who are much more in touch with the community. But I remember that a lot of people, if not the majority, were convinced that the day the machine will beat human is the day that chess will become obsolete, irrelevant. Nobody will play chess anymore. And it was actually two ideas, two scenarios, the same like I presented before. One scenario is that the machine will solve chess, so it won't have any more secrets for us. And the second idea was, okay, but still, why would I watch a human if I can watch a computer who is much better at chess? So what's the point? I'll read maybe just the first one, but all the others are the same. If a machine can surpass the ability of the best human player, then the chessboard will become the exclusive domain of the machine, and the game will cease to be interesting to humans. It will become a curiosity, like the abacus or the slide rule. And then it happened, and it happened very quickly. The date, May 11, 1997. I will put a slide documentary because I think it's a very relevant period or event.
The world was paying a lot of attention, and we weren't quite used to that.
Chess events never get covered like that. It was probably the biggest news coverage for a chess match ever.
We were trying to prove that it was possible to build a chess machine that could beat the best human player in the world.
It's also challenging Kasparov in any way. I mean, he's the pinnacle of chess. He's incredible genius.
There were people who, even if just a few years before, said it was going to take decades to do.
The chess world all expected Kasparov to win because the human had always won before.
Garry Kasparov has arrived.
He was under tremendous stress, I imagine. The program wasn't behaving the way he was expecting.
He thought that he was going to figure out the computer.
And he wasn't mentally prepared for it, I think.
I mean, the whole game was surreal. What was he doing? It didn't really make any sense.
Whoa! Deep Blue has instantly sacrificed with knight captures e6.
Deep Blue was just sitting there and just keep on attacking, just moving pieces around. And he knew he was in trouble.
But at the end, Kasparov he stands up, he starts gesturing, he looks over at his mother.
It's quite telling that he looks over his mother, but let's move from that. So yeah, chess doomsday is here. We are convinced that it's the death of chess. What happened next? What insights can we learn? Maybe before we delve into that, I thought it would be interesting that we have a little bit of a technological background just enough to understand the ideas that are going to be discussed afterward with, from our panelists. So I'll pass on to our great expert, Shamid.
Thank you, Tariq. Good evening all. I'm Shamid. I'm the head of AI at GEMS Education. I hope you all enjoyed the chessable avatar that was shown earlier. So that also trained using the GPT AI models. So let me just get started into the talk today. So before we down. Okay, yeah, thank you. So before we get into the AI and the chess correlations, maybe just to have the clear slate, let's go with the definition of AI. So the most basic definition of AI would be the ability of computer programs to do or perform tasks which requires human thinking. So that might be a good definition of AI to start with. And then why do we need AI in chess? So that's because chess, the number of combinations or the moves that's possible in a chess game, the total number of possible chess game positions are more than the number of atoms in the entire universe. So it's not possible to create a database or a table with all the moves pre-recorded, having a notation like, if what move is played, what is the best move to be played after that. It's not possible. That's why we need a program which can actually think and come up with a way to tell what is the best move possible from a given position. So, the pioneers or the godfathers of computer programming, like Turing, Shannon, von Neumann, they were all very obsessed with chess. So the thought process was if we could create a computer program which could play chess at human level, maybe we would have uncovered something really big about human intuition or the human thinking. And also, in the early days, the computers were really slow. So there were two different approaches which the godfather of computer programming, which was Turing, suggested to solve chess. That's like type A and type B. So let me just briefly describe what that is, and we will cover that, or we will come back to these definitions over and over in our presentation. So the type A machine is more like a brute force search algorithm, which may not have much of an intuition, but it can search millions of moves per second, and in that way it can play better than a human. The type B model would be one which performs more like a human, which has a knowledge and intuition about a chess position, and it does not do a brute force search, but it has a better understanding of which moves might lead to a better position, and then it searches based on that. So that's more like a human way of thinking. So these were the two types of chess engines which were proposed earlier on. But since the computer were really slow in the early days, it was thought that only a program which could solve or which could think like a human could beat a human player. But that was proven wrong later on. So we'll just go through the timeline of the AI programs and chess together. So we can divide the chess AIs into different eras. One that happened before Deep Blue, then what happened after Deep Blue, and what is happening right now. So before Deep Blue, during the early years of the computer programming and AI, so like I said, Alan Turing was one of the pioneers of computer programming, and he was obsessed with chess, even though he himself was a very weak player. He was keen on developing a program or coming up with an algorithm which can solve chess. So his paper machine is what is called, or the first chess engine which was developed was by Turing, but unfortunately it was even before the computers were invented. He did it on paper. He actually wrote an algorithm in paper identifying or coming up with rules based on a chess position, what are the next set of moves, and how do we evaluate which is the best move to make next. So based on that, he would play, like, if he's playing with a human, he will go and evaluate using all those algorithms and then make the next move. That was one of the first chess engines to be made. Then there were parallel breakthroughs in machine learning, like, perceptron and neural engines, which were created later on. But the real breakthrough or the game-changing moment was, like what Tariq said earlier, was when Deep Blue actually defeated the world champion Kasparov. So the solution was developed by IBM. It was called Deep Blue. And the way it works, going back to our definition of type A and type B, it was more a type A engine, which was using brute force search method. It was using all this computation power to look at all the different positions possible, and then it was using human handcrafted evaluation methods to identify or to score each position and then identify which move to make next. So it's very unlike how a human plays. It's more since it has a lot of computation power, it can actually go into the different positions and the positions that lead after that, and then it can score, and based on that, it used to make the moves. So it was a very highly specialized engine, even though it was able to beat or surpass any human at that point of time. It was lacking, kind of intuition or the way a human would play chess. So the limitations of Deep Blue was like it was not able to play or learn from its own games, and it is not a general purpose solution. It was highly specialized for chess. It can and it's written using human knowledge, like the years of computer and chess research and help from the grandmasters to identify or score each position. So based on that, these rules were coded into the computer program, and that's how the Deep Blue worked. So after that, before we go into what led to the AlphaZero, which was the next biggest breakthrough, there were parallel breakthroughs happening in machine learning world. One of the biggest was the deep learning revolution, which happened in 2012, where a computer programmer than a human at the accuracy of the image classification. And that's actually what led to a lot of deep learning and AI solutions which came after that. So deep learning, it came at the right moment because the computing powers was like growing exponentially, and we were generating a lot of data. And that's what led to the effectiveness of deep learning. And in 2016, Google's DeepMind AlphaGo solution was able to beat the world champion Lee Sedol at the Go game. So that's what led to AlphaZero. So AlphaZero, as you all know, was an engine which was not handcrafted by humans. It was given only the basic rules of chess, and it played millions and millions of games against itself, and it came up with all the different strategies, all the different openings and ending, end games, middle games. All the intuition was developed by itself. So this was a complete breakthrough in machine learning, where a solution which was not actually fed with any human knowledge, but just the basic rules, how it was able to actually surpass human and surpass even the best chess engine at that point of time, which was Stockfish. So another important aspect of AlphaZero was that it was general purpose. It is not specific to chess. It was also able to play games like Go, Shogi. Starting with just the basic rules of the game, it was able to go surpass even the best human playing that game. So there are a lot of insights to be had from the development of AlphaZero. One that is like, if it is not limited by human knowledge, an AI solution can go and develop its own intuitions, and once it has trained or it has perfected that game or perfected that solution, then there are a lot of learnings which humans can get from that solution. So after AlphaZero, now we are at the breakthrough of large language models. I'm sure that all of you are aware of or might have used the ChatGPT, the GPT-3 models, and even saw the demo of the AI avatar which was shown earlier, which was again trained on ChatGPT models. So before we get into the ChatGPT and how that is working, maybe it's just to give you a brief introduction of what is this ChatGPT or what is the GPT model which is powering the ChatGPT. I'm sure that anybody using those models and those solutions get a feeling that it's highly intelligent and highly intuitive. Now, want to understand, like, is that really the case? Is that developing intuition, or it's just knowledge and search? So the GPT models or the ChatGPT, they are all based on an algorithm or an approach called large language models. So what is a large language model? So you all might have, when you search in Google or any search engine, when you type something, let's say if I am typing the best chess player, it tries to autocomplete you, like, it might be the best chess player of all time, or the best woman chess player, best chess player in India. So how does it get, or how does it know how to autocomplete your searches? So that's just based on the history or the type of searches it has seen over time, how humans are doing this search. Now, if you look at ChatGPT or GPT models, they are also language models. This one, where it is predicting the next word, is what it's a language model. And large language models are just an extension of these models, but trained on huge amount of data. So the models like GPT-3 or ChatGPT or GPT-4 are trained on all the text data that you can get from the internet. So instead of just predicting the next word, it is actually predicting. It can predict even the entire paper, or like 30,000 words it can predict. So now if you are using ChatGPT to write, to tell it to say, to create a mail to my boss telling that I'm on leave, you'll quickly get the entire mail phrased in front of you. But ultimately how it is happening is it is still autocomplete, where it is predicting the next word, and then it takes the entire thing and then predicts the next word. So it's actually looking at the entire amount of training set that it was trained on. It is looking at those patterns and it is creating the next word. So coming to the GPT-3, like I was saying, so how it is trained, like I said, it is trained on a lot of text data, the entire text data that you can get from the internet, the entire Wikipedia, and it's trained on even the human-generated social media data. And then it tries to always give a set of text to itself, and it tries to predict the next word. And it tries to do that over and over again, and that's how it perfects itself. So even though it's trying to imitate human text and predict based on what it has seen, when we use it, it is still versatile in a way that you can give it any kind of description, and it is able to generate based on that. So it is very, definitely there are a lot of use cases where it's extremely useful, especially useful in text generation and question answering kind of tasks. And it's kind of the best model that has come out right now. Now, looking at what are the limitations of ChatGPT, even though it might look like it is just a really big breakthrough in AI, what's lacking in GPT-3 or ChatGPT models? So it's like you can draw parallels between the GPT-3 or ChatGPT and the Deep Blue. So Deep Blue, again, like I said, it was using the handcrafted human knowledge, which was codified, and that's how it used to work. Here, again, even though we are not explicitly handcrafting the human knowledge, it is learning from the human text, and it is trying to just imitate the human text by predicting what comes next. It lacks sort of intuition or intelligence in a way that, let's say, how AlphaZero learned to play the game of chess. So the creativity that it has is limited to the patterns in the text that it is already trained with. So in a way, it is again relying on human data for its own intelligence. It's going back to what Tariq's slide said about what Einstein said about intelligence, like a true sign of intelligence is imagination, not knowledge. So right now, the GPT models lie in a domain where it is trying to mimic human text, and it's able to compress the entire text that's out there in the internet into its models, but it's not intuitive in the sense that it can understand the text and do something creative by itself. That's something which I realized when I created the chess engine using the ChatGPT models. It can really play the openings really well, because the openings are very well established, and it's there all over the internet. But the moment you play a move and deviate from a game which was already played, then it falters. It actually, it's not able to play a proper move, and then it goes into blunders and loses the game. So how does the future look like? Now, maybe it's an understatement to say that it's one of the exciting times in AI to be involved right now. What I feel is there are learnings from the chess engines like AlphaZero and Deep Blue played. So there might be learnings that we can actually use in order to come up with the newer solutions. So just like the way how AlphaZero was inspired to learn by itself and come up with an intuitive game, the same way I believe the next step in the large language models is not just to imitate the human test or come up with a prediction based on the patterns, but develop a true intuition of what it is learning and then come up with creative solutions by itself. I think, again, chess would help us or work as a good test bed for the true intelligence. The moment AI models or language models like ChatGPT are able to play chess at human level or superhuman level, just by reading about chess and then coming up with those moves, that would be a true sign of the creativity that has, or intuition that has developed by these models. So, and a lot of human and AI collaboration is also is something that is coming up. For one, I'm not believing in the doomsday scenario. I believe there is a lot of achievements that can be made by AI models, which can develop its own intuition and can surpass the human understanding. Just think that if a future AI, let's say GPT-5 or GPT-X, is able to read about the theory of relativity by Einstein and then extend it to the mysteries of the universe, like what happens inside a black hole or the origins of the universe. That's something that goes beyond the human intuition, but with the new models where it develops its own intuition, I think inspired by AlphaZero, I think that's a good future that is coming up. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hamid. We definitely know a little bit more about our ignorance, so it's going to be a fascinating journey. So, Judith, we left the audience on tenterhooks. Did chess die in 1997? So we imagine the community of the top chess players is a bit like the Formula One drivers. You meet over a super tournament, you spend some time together, and then 3 to 4 weeks later you meet into another super tournament. So can you describe to us what you, and maybe as well, if it's possible, the community felt about that very special period? Thank you.
Well, basically, it was a very tricky period for me, because for those who play chess will understand that my style was always very creative and very practical, which meant that when I started to look at it with an engine, it was instantly, in a fraction of a second, pinpointed out the holes and the problems what I've forgotten, and it was not actually adding that how great you were, how amazing moves you did previously, those 10 exceptionally fantastic creative moves, but actually in a fraction of a second I felt that how stupid I am. So this was not a good start for me to work with an engine, which was, I can say that, yes, somewhere in the mid-90s it was that I had my first engines, and then I had some experiences with it, which was not necessarily positive, because we have to understand that a chess player was working with a chessboard, with a partner, with a trainer, and then we were analyzing things. We had our intuition, which meant a lot when we were preparing. And then this engine comes with the computer, we are asking questions, and immediately it's judging us, telling us whether the position is good or bad, immediately tells what kind of suggestions, ideas it has. And then, you know, some of us thought that, okay, this move is interesting, or the other one thought, no, I can't believe the computer. Others started to think that, well, what computer says, everything is 100%, right? So we had this trust and untrust continuously. And one of the most painful situation was when I was playing against one of the top English grandmaster somewhere in 2000, I think, and I was making my preparation before the game, where I understood that I concluded with analyzing the engine that if this certain position arises in the board, I'm winning. So the evaluation is that if this happens, I win the game. So I go to the game, and I have this position on the board, and I look at it and I say, well, I can make a repetition of moves, which means it's going to be a draw, or I can go out of this repetition because the computer says I'm winning. So I had this battle in my brain that I don't understand exactly why it's not winning or why it's winning, but actually I can make a draw. So I trusted the computer engine, and I went on not agreeing into a draw, and then I lost the game. So obviously you can understand that after this I had my skepticism towards the program, and somehow I started to lose my belief in them and trust in them. And I was not the only one. There was another very famous case in the World Championship title match between Leko Peter and Kramnik. And Kramnik went to the game and he thought that everything is okay, but actually the evaluation problem again. And then actually with home preparation, Peter Leko just won the game. So some of us really burned ourselves from evaluation point of view. And of course, we always had the debate that which program are you using, for example? Because some of the programs were good in positional play, other programs were good in tactical, a third one was more trustworthy in evaluation. So it was kind of confusing. And of course, it depended also, we all understood, how good and powerful computer you have. And of course, later on, then people started to work with the remote computers, which I think most of us do, so to get the most power from the computer. And, but going back to the basic question, it was a big turbulence, I think, in the chess community. I myself, after having the experience back in '93, when I was playing in New York in a big international tournament, and then I got an offer from the organizers that actually the IBM office was reaching out to me, and they would like to have a training game with you of 2 games. I was like 16. And I said, okay, it's interesting. Of course, I didn't understand anything what is going to be happening out of this. Of course, it was clear already from the video, so that they were working a lot already how to develop an incredible, powerful machine. And I went there, and the developers, we were sitting before these 2 games were played. It was 2 rapid games. We were sitting in such a room. It was fully dark. It was a huge screen. And I got the presentation about half an hour, not less than that, complaining by the developers that, yeah, this program is really good, but we will never beat a grandmaster ever. So the people who were developing, they understood very well, because they were so much deeply in it, they knew their worries. But of course, it was not encouraging for me. So I started to play this game, and it was very clear. Still at the time, there were very basic problems, like repetition of moves. It didn't understand, because it was just evaluating, but there is a way of making draw. So I made 1 draw. So I escaped in one of the game because of this bug in the system. The other one I played pretty well, but I just lost it without noticing it why. And my real problem was, I remember that feeling that the game of chess is played between 2 humans. with its psychology, with its aura, the senses. You look at your opponent, you play, you calculate the time trouble, and so on. And this was nowhere. I was sitting in front of me with the developer who was quite happy that his machine or the team's machine is winning. So the emotional part is completely taken out of that. And after that, I was still playing several times in events with programs, but it was never something gave me pleasure at all. And I was using it. I have to admit that around 2000, I was suffering a lot using the engine. But I had to decide that it's either I like it, I use it, or I use it. I have no choice, basically.
You said something very interesting, but I just want to make an analogy for my football playing friends. I mean, there was a great team of Inter in the 60s, which was a very defensive team. It was called Catenaccio. They invented a new system of work which was extremely defensive, extremely dour, extremely boring, but very effective, which meant that for a few years, most football matches become very dour. And I wanted to challenge you because you said the deep blue philosophy is not a philosophy of imagination. It's a I don't want to lose and I wait until you make a mistake. Do you think, I mean, I'm not at the same level of chess as you, so I'm just hypothesizing and I'll pass you to give you your opinion. Do you think the deep blue generation inspired a very dour type of style? And you said the style wasn't suited to attacking players. Do you think that we suffered because of that? And I have a small question about the game you were mentioning. Was that the Marshall Gambit one? Peter Leco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, that's why. So I wanted to say that's why we like to watch chess, for those kind of games. And those kind of games, do you think they have reduced because of the deep blue philosophy or style of playing during a certain period?
Well, I think there were different, very serious periods. Of course, '97 was a breakdown. It was horror for many chess players, not only for Kasparov, because many people said that, okay, it's the end of the game. But in those times, it was still a battle, right? So when it's still a challenge that you're making with equal strengths, people, you battle it out and one is better, then you understand that it's painful. But ever since, there's such a huge difference between the engines or programs or AlphaZero compared to mankind that simply there is no battle anymore. But I think that was, of course, a breaking point for chess. And then for some time, I must say that it was a huge confusion with the players. And many of the players started to play very chicken kind of chess because they went home, they made their preparation, they go to the game, they played out what they had prepared before the game, let's say, and then they say, well, I'm maybe a little better, maybe equal, so why to fight longer? Okay, we make a draw. But now, there's a huge difference what's going on with the new generation. And I think AlphaZero made a huge positive impact as well for the game because it started to play the way that it gives up material. This is the biggest trademark, I think, what everybody is taking, that it gives up material and maybe 15, 20, 30 moves later only, it shows why this strategy was working out. And it was also clearly seen that even the world champion Magnus Carlsen was inspired by AlphaZero. And I'm very proud that in the book, The Game Changer, probably you've seen that book, there is a comparison that which human being is the closest in style to AlphaZero, and it was me. Because I was also sacrificing. I was also sacrificing a lot. So nowadays, I, for example, think that chess is at least as interesting as it was back 40 years ago without computers. Because simply everybody now, they feel that I have a good computer, I make my homework, I know what I'm doing, so I'm not scared to enter into some sharp, difficult positions, and I'm ready to adjust myself to that. So now it's, before it was like, human and computer, we are not matching somehow. But then little by little, computers learned from us, we learned from them, and somehow we are getting along kind of friends sometimes.
We can say if Deep Blue is the Inter of Catenaccio, Alpha Zero is a bit of Brazil 1970. It's really brought Spark back. So let me see the view of Bashar. Judith did a very good job expressing the shock and the few years of hurt. But I would like to maybe you take it from 2010, the internet and other technological sides, and how has the game evolved from, let's say, 2005, 2010 till now?
Well, I will give a few things, because anecdotes are still human things that we live. So maybe in the future some others will talk about their anecdotes, but I'm not predicting. But just giving you, first time I went for my Grandmaster norm was in India, in Kolhapur, 87. So I come back a bit before 2010. And I had 30 kilo of luggage, 27 kilos of books, and 3 kilo of clothes. CD-ROM was just starting. Just to give you, that's why I said I was a dinosaur before. So it's just the evolution of what happened. And of course, you had an incredible event, which was the Kasparov Deep Blue. And it popularized chess also, because you could see that maybe a machine would beat the champion, but it was the beginning. Now, when you talk about 2010, 2012, of course, we had already 30 years, more than 25 years since those times. The platforms came in, and with the technology, they started to go and to catch very fast the people who were raised from those times with internet. In fact, it's just that, plus the fact that the speed of internet came in. You had so many things that happened that brought that mayonnaise that is succeeding, that finally you have the chess, which is becoming very, very popular because of the access to the platforms. You have platforms like chess.com. You have the platform like Lichess, which is more the system of you keep the things, or the system of open source with Lichess. And Lichess is from Linux, the Linux people who said, okay, this is the property of everybody. And you had so many things that happen, and in fact it's a confrontation, even in computing, of different type, and even of philosophy of the life, of what the people should have. And again, chess, as was mentioned before, is the perfect tool to try to experiment, and without consequences. Because what is the consequence? The ego of some guy is damaged? It's not a big consequence. Sorry to say it that way. The consequence is that you try, you test so many things, and you bring the people, and there is no risk of war. It's only the war of chess, which is nothing, and where we go to that. So, in fact, these platforms brought a lot to chess. And what we are talking today about AI or deep learning, let's say, but because all those neuronal, and we don't know where will be this ChatGPT X, as you said, in some years. They brought, in fact, the possibility for human beings to start, as you said before, to believe that they can go for it. They can try to do it. Before, as you mentioned, chess was just reserved. Oh, I cannot have access to that. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. Today, a 1,500, 1,600 player is much stronger than a 2,000 player of 20, 25 years ago, because he has so much knowledge, he's not scared, and he has experienced so many things. And so, in fact, that brought the new humans who are AIs, like Firuzia, for instance. Carlsen is the last of the humans who mixed this, and the first human who is an AI human, because he played probably more chess games than all the world champions in the history, because he had the possibility from a country, his country in Iran, but he had an internet access. That was in the years, and you know, he's born in 2003. So at that time, he was 8, 9, 10 years old, and he started playing, and learning, accumulating. You were talking about the neuronal thing. And in fact, his brain is another type of brain. This guy is a digital native, and we are in a world of digital native, and chess is just great for that. So I think the future of chess is really correlated to all those technologies, and we must not fear what's going on. You must never fear what's happening, because it's happening, first of all. This is a principle of reality. So if you are fearing what is happening, okay, anyway, you will not avoid it. So you have to, just to try to understand what's happening, what's going on, and what the improvements it can bring. And I believe, again, chess is incredibly playing its role. For the last, you spoke about Turing. I mean, for the last 80 years, let's say, chess is playing an incredible role from Turing, then you had the growth, you had the internet, you had all those sequences that were played. You had the man who was beaten by the machine. But I gave an analogy yesterday to Tariq. I told him, okay, we look at a Ferrari running in Formula One Grand Prix. Okay, it's good, but it's boring. I was watching several times from Monaco, from the roof. Okay, it was the same thing during 1.5 hours. But when you look at Usain Bolt running, it's just wow, because it's a human being. But he's only running, I don't know, it's exactly 40 kilometers an hour, and the other one is 300 kilometers an hour. Again, this is, the drama is important, the confrontation between human beings. As Judith said, the emotions, the things that are happening. As long as we will have emotions, if we don't become AI ourselves, then it might have a sense, and chess will really improve.
Well, some steering stuff, huh? You put quite some very interesting ideas. The first one is that in the future job market, players will still have their place, and obviously in other fields as well, but they will have to change. I would say what you're saying is the old Soviet school, which was kind of dominating chess learning, is being replaced by something new and something exciting. That's the first thing I want to touch upon. And then the second thing I want to touch upon is, well, I am in the stock exchange, so I have to talk about economics, right? The economic model of chess players. We know, unfortunately, that chess players, it's quite a difficult job to make things end. I'm not sure what's the number, but probably only the 50 top players can earn a living from competition. The rest of them have to augment that with other things. And what we've seen recently, which is a byproduct of this new generation of players with much more interest, so many people flooding into this, is the need for content. And that need of content meant that we have now some star streamers. So we have some very good players like Hikaru, who's a star streamer, but most of them actually are, well, let's exaggerate a bit, they're a bit lousy players. So are you shocked that someone who's not very good at chess is making a much better living than someone in the top 100? So that's the second question. Thank you.
Well, I am not shocked at all. And I must say thank you to all those streamers, because this technology brought those people. They like chess. they look like more the, let's say, the people, the beginners, the people who start, they're talking with them. They are not autistic people because they are communicating. And when they are communicating, they are bringing. The fact that they are not the strongest, in bracket, and let's be careful when we say that, because Nakamura is one of the strongest players. And yeah, but I mean, of course, because that's why I'm saying, and he can do so many things at the same time. So they show he is by himself more than an AI. I don't know how he can do so many things at the same time. But when you look at the Butters sisters or the others, they are popularizing chess, and they are making it possible, accessible to everybody. And we would not have so many people today if they wouldn't be there on streaming. It wouldn't be just impossible. So I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that they are earning money, because this is like when you have a grocery. Okay, you earn some money, and when you have a channel of distribution, you earn more money because you sell to more people. It's exactly the same principle. So if you have access to hundreds of thousands or millions of people who like what you're doing, if they put 1 cent, 2 cents, I know now, I heard that ChatGPT is billing 1 cent per hour for the companies, the professional. So then you try to create a business model. If this is going to happen, and if this is going to bring more people in, and probably with some little changes that might happen, chess could become a major sport. But still, we have to change things. But I must say, it's just great. In the last 10 years, as you mentioned, since 2010, 12, 13, the movement has been so great, and chess has never been so popular. We come from the generation of player where I remember in 2019, we can come back to I didn't see it. In 2019, we tried to have chess into the Olympics. And we gave a conference at that time. We had, I think, 2 billion chess games played a year on the platforms in general. This is 4 years ago. Today, if you look at the thing, I mean, last month, I think it was 1 billion in February on the one platform, chess.com. So, in fact, it's just exponential. Thanks to the Queen's Gambit, thanks to COVID, thanks to many things, thanks to the people who have changed their way of saying things. And chess is becoming somehow quite iconic with all those things. And without those streamers, without those things, we would not reach those figures. Of course, we still need legends, but will we have legends like we had before with people like Fischer, Kasparov, Carlsen, Judith? Because the exponentiality of what's going to happen, will it help for those people to remain for a long time? Look at tennis. Whom do you remember about? Nadal, Federer. Whom do you remember about Formula One? You remember about Schumacher, because they stayed for a long time. Now we have Judith with us. She's there because she could be number one in one field and for such a long time. But will this continue to happen? I mean, in the future, I don't know. We will see what will. I mean, my brain is unfortunately not able to understand, and I'm not as imaginative as Shamit to see what will happen in the next 5 or even the next 3 days, because you said maybe at the end of this round table things will have changed.
So I would like to turn to Judith. So you spoke passionately, and you are always speaking passionately about education. And I couldn't help notice that your motto, you always sign off your emails with that. It's the motto of your foundation, is chess connects us, which I am very ashamed, and I think most of us as a society, whenever we hear connects us, we think about technology. Unfortunately, that connecting thing has become such just a technological thing. And so I would like you to tell me this new generation of players, but also this new generation of technology, in particular in terms of reaching out to this new generation. How, in your work with the foundation, how have you felt it, or otherwise? Thank you.
Yeah, we started with the Global Chess Festival some years ago. It's the 9th year this year. And we have this slogan because actually during my more than 3 decades of competitive chess, it was something that I met so many different kind of people through my career. And I felt many of the occasions that there is something with chess that it connected me with those people. And in the festival also, we try to show to the wide audience, many thousands of people who visit, and also during the year with many different kind of ideas, that chess is something that can connect generations in a family. It was in Hungary back 30 years ago. It was in every family a chessboard. And of course, not to talk about Soviet Union, I think in many countries, it was a board game of the family. So the little 5 years old was taught mostly for many years in many of these countries by the grandfather or the father. So chess is really something that demolishes age, ethnic groups, girl, boys, doesn't matter, rich or poor. It is something, it has such a strong power in its game. And you can use it as an educational tool, you can use it as a connection, as a sporting element. You can also use it for modeling many of the things what's happening in business. I think in economics, I have some friends who are very much deeply in their country in economics, and they're experts. And some of them who play chess, they make the parallel that how good that I play chess, and I analyze this, and I see that I make a mistake, then I have a bad position, then I reconsider, then I analyze, and they are using some of these analytical skills and the process what we make during a game, which can be sometimes very similar to decision makings, what you do in other fields and in business. So for me, all my life, chess connects us with someone, because 95% of my life, I meet very interesting people and cultures through my chess, but they also come to that place because there is some connection, right? So that's why I like this motto of ours, of chess connects us in different ways. And well, about the new generation, I think for them, this is natural, right? And as you said, Bashar said that maybe Magnus Carlsen was the last one who was still from the old age. I think youngsters, they have much more potentials and hope than we think sometimes, because still I believe there are a lot of kids who understand, they go back. Maybe it's also because it's fashionable to go to retro times. But for example, just now, yesterday I was reading with one of the very talented Indian player, Leon Mendonça, that he said that he was using always the computer and somehow he's stuck. He couldn't improve his chess. And then he understood that maybe he has to unlearn to use the computer so often, and now he just made a 9 out of 9 performance. And I think these stories really inspire other youngster generation that computer is cool, it's great that it tells you what to do, but you should find somewhere the balance, which is extremely challenging for all of us, I think. But I think there is still hope. I do hope that they can learn from the predecessors, they can learn, and they understand that without learning some of the greatest basics of the game for understanding, they cannot use only technology to improve. And I still have this hope that the youngsters understand that they have to make the merge, and that will be the biggest success for them.
There is a very interesting convergence in what you're saying and what Bashar is saying is the artificial intelligence and the connectivity is not the end of humanity, but actually it helps us become more human, which is very interesting. We'll come back to that on the concluding side. So I have to take my courage and ask you bit of a topical but tough question. I'll start with Bashar. So this new generation of players, they don't like the classical format of playing. So for my friends who don't know chess, the classical format for World Championship is games which last between 5 and 10 hours. And this new generation doesn't like it, doesn't see the point. They play blitz or very short on their computers. And in any way, what's the point? Because the games are almost perfect. And as you said, we look for imperfection. So we had the decision, an extraordinary decision this year. Magnus Carlsen, arguably the best chess player of all time, who has decided not to compete or not to defend his title. So he's given up his World Championship title. And rumor has it, it's not confirmed, but rumor has it, he's given up his title because he doesn't agree with the governing body about the classical chess. He thinks that the public doesn't want to see 5 to 10 hours chess. They want to see games of 1 hour chess. And so we are, as you said before, a turbulent time because, well, the World Championship is starting next week and it doesn't seem to be a lot of, let's say, interest in it. So do you think, Bashar, that FIDE has disconnected itself from what's happening?
Well, I never, you must never throw things on ambulances. So when you are a body, you have to try to deal with all the people's thoughts about everything. So it's never easy to be on board and making decisions. But saying that, I can say that during one of our meetings in 2019 in Astana, at the board, I said publicly there that the match Caruana-Carlsen was just boring because it was 12 draws. Nothing happened. I mean, they missed one chance. And what is
12 very, very long draws.
Yes. What is the use? And I said that at that time already, so that's 4 years ago. I said, this is nonsense. There is no drama, no fight, what will happen? Why do you do that? And of course, there were people opposing. They are the purists. They want to keep the tradition. It's always, this debate happens in every church or every place, I mean, when you say it that way. So the fact that Magnus left the World Championship, and by the way, for a few days, he is still the world champion in the 3 categories, in the what we call it the classical chess, the rapid, and the blitz. And after a few days, he will still remain until the end of the year the champion of the 2. In fact, the timing is important. You cannot now spend 5-10 hours on a chess game. I totally agree on that. I believe this is nonsense. If you want some people to continue to do it, let them do it. They are free to do it. But you're not going to attract people by doing that. Look at what the streamers are doing. Look at how the people are coming through chess. Look at the platforms, what they're doing. They are proposing some formats that are not the same. And I think, yes, probably FIDE will adapt, but at one point it will adapt. And that's why I said that Carlsen is probably the last champion, world champion, of what happened before. And you cannot continue saying, this is our tradition, this is history, we have had the champion since Steinitz is the same, and okay, I mean, this is absolutely, for us, from our generation, it means something, but for all the new generation coming, learning, teaching chess, they can look at that, but it's just, they want to see some other things in chess, because the proposition that is done to them now is existing, and on the other hand, the body is not really following. But let's not blame only the body. It's generally the human kind that is not really fast enough.
Well, thank you. I don't want to put you on the spot on a very hot debate, Judith, but if you would like to contribute.
I'd like to add something to that what Bashar said, because of course, as I was there as a commentator for 2016 and 2018, I was there in this specific match with Caruana, and I see that, of course, the audience, the big mass of people, for them it's boring because it's long without a result, right? It's only a draw. From chess perspective, myself, I can find interesting moments in every game, right? But that's not a big news. And I think chess can be seen somehow that if I also see this trend that simply these youngsters, whether it's Firuza or the Pragnananda or many of the other youngsters, they love to play, for example, as a training, 1 minute even, or 5 minutes as a training game. So they are used to the fact that they are playing shorter games. So I also believe that if chess wants to reach out to the mass of people in the world, it has to go to a shorter time control. At the same time, I can also say that I think classical chess should not die at all. I can say that culinary food, for example, it is something, it's for very limited people in the world, right? Sure. So it can be something really special for those who can value, understand the pressure, the psychology, the preparation, the battle, the fight, the blood, everything what they really see behind the classical chess, that you play only 1 game a day, you're there for 2 weeks, and you're punch back on the board. So for people who really understand chess, it can be a very special dish. It can be very tasty, very, very nice, and a very rich experience. But for mass of the people, I also believe that simply our life is getting faster.
So classical is the new correspondence, right? Okay, we can talk for hours, but we'll move to the concluding remarks, and maybe I'll start with you, Judith. So, did AI kill chess?
No, it did not kill chess at all, I believe. It transformed the game completely. That I can say, that it transformed. Basically, I say that today's chess is like a different sport than when I was a kid, let's say, a teenager, because we have different preparation, different attitude, different way of learning, practicing, deciding on everything. At the same time, I think it is at least as exciting. I now was following the biggest tournament in January in Weikanzee. Later on in February, I saw this event in Düsseldorf. And there it was really inspiring, the games which we've seen, with of course many mistakes. Don't misunderstand me, but I think in a sport itself, why do we care about mistakes? Would we like to see some perfection? I think chess as a sport, it can be seen like art. It's a matter of taste. You see whether some moves are good or bad or interesting, but I think it gives extra spice to the game that it can make blunders or exceptionally beautiful solutions. I mean, we are kind of happy to see what the computer tells us after the game. At the same time, we are not happy because we have this incredible emotional feeling after a game that I played well, I did bad, this move was fantastic. So this feeling, I think we can give back, and it can stay, even in these times with the AI.
Shamid, would you like to tell us about your future, or your vision of the future, to be more precise?
Sure. Maybe since I am in the education domain, I will maybe take that sample of education to explain how AI is impacting. So, as you all know, like once the ChatGPT came, like, the teachers and the schools are worried, like, how students are going to, copy from that, how the assignments are going to be just the output from ChatGPT. And I have the same set of teachers asking me to develop solutions which can evaluate essays written by students. So if I have to develop a solution, that's again using ChatGPT. So ultimately what we are doing is that ChatGPT writing essays and on the other side, ChatGPT evaluating the essays. So this is kind of a conundrum. So what actually needs to happen is that there are things that need to change, the old school of how things are being done in schools, how things are working in education. And in every other domain has to change, has to adapt to the new technology that is coming. And like Tariq was saying, like, there is a movement now to hold the development of the new AI activities. Those are not practical things. Innovation, once it starts, right, it's not going to stop. It's only going to go faster and faster. So there is a need to adapt faster to these technologies. We need to see how we can work together, how students, how teachers, how as employees in every domain, how we can adopt these technologies and can move towards better understanding, better creativity in each field.
Thank you very much. Bashar, you are the dinosaur. So what can you tell us from your long history about the future? Thank you.
Yes, dinosaur, not in the from the black hole. This was even before. So, no, just to say, I am, as I said, we have to try. That's why our problem may be because we are human. We always try to understand. We always try to think out what will be the future, because we arrive on Earth and then we leave that Earth. So always, I mean, it's not philosophy, but the period of our life, we're trying to, and that's also a questioning about how will be the life, our lives, I mean. In chess, for thing, when you look, I mean, because before you have seen on the picture a very famous spot, advertising spot with Ronaldo and Messi. When you see Ronaldo and Messi on a Vuitton case, it means chess has reached a certain level there. And so I believe that all the factors that we have now make me think that chess has a very good future. It's not the last day of chess, it's the beginning of a new era of chess, and the dinosaur can conclude that it's just great that we will have some new species that will play chess in a maybe different way, but the thing will continue.
Well, thank you. You have a knack for a very inspiring conclusion. So I prepared some final remarks that you'll see in the presentation later on, but I would like just to finish with an anecdote about the creation of chess. You probably all heard this story. So the story goes that there is an Indian ruler who wanted to teach his kid about strategy and about tactics. And so this wise man came in and said, look, I invented a game. It's called chess, and it could be useful. And the king was so happy with him that he said, you can ask me anything you want. So the wise man, he said, I just want 1 grain of rice on the first square, 2 grains of rice on the second, 4 on the third, and you keep doubling, and that's all I want. So the king, he said, you are completely stupid man, and I'm going to give you what you want, and he very shortly after ran out of rice. So I could, and please try it at home, I could make a game of trying to guess together how much rice there is in this chessboard. I could tell you, do you think it's 10 kilos or more? Show of hands. But I'll give you the answer right away. It's the equivalent. I didn't do the maths. Thankfully, I asked ChatGPT to do the maths. It's equivalent to 25,000 times the total annual global production of rice of today. And this anecdote is to show something. The human brain is not wired to understand exponential growth. The human brain is wired to understand only linear growth. And so if you get into chess, you are going to understand much better the growth of artificial intelligence. And that's what I would like to conclude. So we'll move into the questions and answers. if you wish. So typically in this kind of cases, the moderator closes with saying, well, it's great, so we have been very clear and we have no questions. But I think in this particular case, I can safely say, it's great, we've confused you all. and so that's why you don't have any questions. And I think that's part of the answer. Obviously, we don't know the future. But I think if there is something that I would like to conclude, and maybe I'll pass to my panelists if they would like to conclude, but if you live your life and your working life as a horse, you are going to suffer. If you see yourself only as a technician, even if you are a brilliant engineer, that's not going to protect you enough. But if you see yourself in the future as a confident person who's ready to face challenges, then you are going to thrive. I'm going to use the example of my esteemed panelist on the right. Judith could have settled for a legendary career as a woman chess player, but she decided, and I think you've talked a lot about the support that you got from your family, to say, no, I'm going to take risk, I'm going to be confident, I'm going to go into a field that probably very few, if ever, have gone into with confidence. And that's why probably she is one of the very rare women who have stayed at the top of her field for 26 years. So I think my only advice about the future, and I guess you're also listening and saying, well, what does it mean for my kids? If you raise them to have confidence in the future will be good to them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's great what you said. I would just say one thing. If AI and ChatGPT make human beings more modest, because if they start to understand that their knowledge is nothing, all what they learned, all our stereotypes that we have that are building us are just easily removed by what's happened, maybe this is a good advancement for human beings living together.
So thank you very much to my esteemed panelists, and thank you for attending. See you soon.